Hello, English learners. Imagine this. You're stuck in traffic, scrolling through your phone or waiting for your coffee to brew. What if I told you that those moments, those tiny gaps in your day, could be the key to finally mastering English?
Exactly. We all have those wasted minutes throughout the day. Jobs, families, and yes, binge-watching Netflix make it feel like there's no time for grammar or vocabulary drills, right?
Right, Sophia. But here's the good news. You don't need hours of study time to see real progress. What if I told you that just 10 minutes a day could transform your English skills?
And we're not just talking about boring textbook stuff. We're talking about real practical learning strategies you can start using today, right now.
So, stick around. In the next few minutes, we're going to show you how to turn those little pockets of time, like your morning coffee or your daily commute, into big language breakthroughs.
Because no matter how busy you are, there's always time to learn. Let's show you how. Let's talk about the big excuse we've all used. I have no time. It's probably the most common reason people give for not learning English, or really for not doing anything new. But let's be honest with ourselves for a moment. Do we really not have time? Or is it just that we're not prioritizing it? Think about it. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, yet some people manage to learn a language, work full-time, exercise, and even binge-watch their favorite shows. How? Because they're using the little seemingly unimportant moments in their day more effectively. Take your morning routine, for example. Are you listening to the same old playlist while brushing your teeth? Or could you spend those 2 minutes listening to an English phrase? What about the 5 minutes you're waiting for your coffee to brew or for the elevator to arrive? Those moments are perfect for micro-learning. You don't need to sit down for an hour with a textbook. All you need is to repurpose a few idle minutes. Trust me, once you start noticing those moments, you'll realize you do have time. It's just hiding in plain sight.
Sophia, you hit the nail on the head. Let's dig deeper into this. How much time do we actually waste every day? I'll give you an example, scrolling social media. Did you know that the average person spends about 2 hours a day scrolling through their phone? Now, I'm not saying you need to cut out TikTok or Instagram completely. I mean, let's be real. Those videos of dancing cats aren't going anywhere. But what if you took just 10 minutes from that scrolling time and used it to learn English instead? And it's not just about social media. Think about all the times you're waiting in line at the coffee shop, waiting for public transport, waiting for a meeting to start. Those moments might seem too short to be useful, but they're actually golden opportunities for micro-learning. Imagine using an app like Duolingo or listening to an English podcast during those times. You'll be surprised how much progress you can make by just capturing these hidden minutes. So here's a challenge for our listeners. Pause for a second and think. What are 2 or 3 moments in your day where you could sneak in some English practice? Maybe it's during your commute, while cooking, or even during your workout. Write those moments down and start turning them into learning opportunities. You'll realize pretty quickly, you do have time. You just need to find it.
Let's talk about micro-learning. Now, this might sound like some fancy academic term, but it's actually one of the simplest and most effective ways to learn anything, including English. Micro-learning is all about breaking your learning into bite-sized pieces, like a snack-sized version of studying. You know what's great about it? It feels doable. Think about it. If I told you to sit down and study English for an hour, you'd probably roll your eyes and think, I don't have the time or the energy. But if I said, hey, spend 10 minutes today learning 5 new words, that doesn't seem so hard, does it? And here's the magic. Those 10 minutes add up. It's like compound interest for your brain. When you focus on small, consistent steps every day, you create a habit that sticks. And let's face it, in a world where our attention spans are shrinking, micro-learning fits perfectly. You're not forcing yourself to focus for long periods. You're working with your brain, not against it. And the best part? You can do it anywhere. While waiting for your coffee during your lunch break or even right before bed. Micro-learning isn't just a method, It's a mindset.
That's spot on, Sophia. And you know what's funny? Microlearning is a lot like snacking. Picture this. If you were to eat 3 giant meals in one sitting, you'd feel overwhelmed and sluggish, right? But if you eat small, consistent snacks throughout the day, you stay energized. Learning is the same way. Instead of saying, I'll study for an hour, just focus on 10 focused minutes. And here's a trick. Pick a specific, actionable goal for those 10 minutes. For example, say, I'll learn how to use 3 new phrasal verbs, or I'll practice listening to 1 short English podcast. That way, you're not just sitting there wondering what to do, you have a plan. And here's something even cooler. Microlearning keeps your brain curious. When you study in short bursts, your brain stays hungry for more, and you're more likely to look forward to your next session. It's like giving your brain just enough to keep it interested without overwhelming it. So, listeners, here's your takeaway. Stop thinking about learning English as this giant, time-consuming task. Instead, think about it as tiny steps. 1 word, 1 phrase, or 1 conversation at a time. You'll be amazed at how far you can go with just 10 minutes a day.
Mornings can be magical for learning, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a morning person. Think about it. The morning is one of the few times in your day when your mind is still fresh, before the chaos of emails, meetings, or errands kicks in. It's like a blank canvas waiting for you to paint on it. Imagine this. You're brushing your teeth. You're standing there for 2 minutes anyway, so why not use that time to practice a few vocabulary words? Keep a small sticky note on your bathroom mirror with words you want to learn that week. Every morning, look at those words and say them out loud. It's quick, simple, and effective. Or maybe you're having breakfast. Instead of scrolling through your phone, try listening to a short English podcast. You can absorb a lot just by letting the language wash over you while you eat. These little habits don't require extra time. They fit seamlessly into your routine. Mornings aren't just for coffee, they're for building momentum for the day ahead. And trust me, starting your day with even a tiny dose of English learning will leave you feeling productive and confident.
That's such a great point, Sophia. I love the idea of stacking learning onto things you're already doing. For example, I have this rule. Before I leave the house in the morning, I set a 10-minute timer and do something focused. It could be reviewing grammar rules, writing a quick journal entry in English, or even just reading a short article. The key here is making it a habit. You know, when you anchor learning to something you already do every morning, like brushing your teeth or eating breakfast, it becomes automatic. And you don't have to make it complicated. Flashcards are an amazing tool. You can even get those small digital flashcard apps on your phone. Open it while you're waiting for your coffee to brew, and boom, you've already started learning. Another idea? Practice 1 useful phrase every morning. For example, if you know you'll have a meeting or a conversation later, practice saying something you might actually use. It's like warming up before a workout. By the time your day officially starts, you've already achieved something meaningful. So, listeners, your morning routine isn't just about getting ready for the day. It's about getting your mind ready for success in English.
All right, let's talk about lunchtime, everyone's favorite part of the day. It's that one moment where you finally get to relax, recharge, and enjoy your meal. But you know what? Lunch breaks can be more than just about food. They're also the perfect opportunity to sneak in a little English practice. And no, I'm not saying you should give up your lunch or turn it into a stressful study session. I'm saying that with just a little creativity, you can turn those 30 minutes into a fun, productive boost for your English skills. For example, bring a short English article or video with you. It doesn't have to be boring. It could be about your favorite hobby, a celebrity interview, or even a funny meme breakdown. While you eat, just read or listen. It's a simple habit, but it's amazing how much you can pick up from these tiny moments. And hey, why not pair your sandwich with some new vocabulary? Food for the brain, right?
That's such a great idea, Sophia. And you know, one thing I love about lunchtime learning is how flexible it can be. Let's say you're not really into reading articles or watching videos during lunch. Maybe you're the kind of person who likes to think and reflect. Here's a fun suggestion. Talk to yourself. Seriously, don't laugh. This works. Imagine you're describing your meal to someone. You could say something like, "This pasta is creamy and flavorful, and the garlic bread is perfectly toasted." It might feel silly at first, but trust me, speaking out loud is one of the best ways to get comfortable with English. And if you're lucky enough to have lunch with a friend who's also learning English, make a deal to have part of your conversation in English. Even if it's just a few sentences like, "What's your favorite dish?" or "How's your day going so far?" It's a start, and every little bit helps.
Exactly, Adam. And here's the thing. When you associate learning with something enjoyable like lunch, it doesn't feel like work. It feels natural. Plus, there's something about food that makes everything more memorable, right? So here's my challenge for our listeners. Every day this week, describe your lunch in English. Say it out loud or write it down, and don't overthink it. If you're eating pizza, just start with, "I'm eating pizza. It's cheesy and delicious." That's it. The more you do it, the more confident you'll get.
I love that challenge, Sophia. And to all our listeners, don't underestimate the power of these small habits. Whether it's describing your food, watching a quick video, or chatting with a friend, you're building your English skills bit by bit. So next time you sit down for lunch, don't just eat. Learn. Make your lunch break a moment of progress.
All right, let me ask you something. How much time do you spend commuting every day? Whether you're stuck in traffic, squished on a train, or just walking to work, most of us have at least 20 to 30 minutes of in-between time. Now here's the real question. Are you using that time, or are you just letting it slip away? Because let me tell you, commuting is absolute gold for learning English. Think about it. You're already moving from point A to point B, so why not let your English skills move with you? Pop in your headphones, and suddenly, your commute isn't just about getting somewhere, it's about growing somewhere. Imagine listening to a podcast like this one, learning new vocabulary while you wait for your stop, or even practicing speaking as you walk. Your commute can be a game changer.
That's such a great way to look at it, Sophia. I'll admit, commuting used to feel like the most boring part of my day until I realized how much I could actually do with that time. Now, it's like my personal English boot camp. If I'm driving, I've always got an English podcast or audiobook playing. And here's the fun part. It doesn't even feel like learning. It's just me enjoying a good story or listening to interesting ideas, and suddenly, I'm picking up phrases, pronunciation, and even cultural insights without even trying. One thing I love doing is playing the same podcast episode a couple of times during the week. It's amazing how much more you catch the second or third time around. And if you're on a bus or train, you can mix it up with a language app. Seriously, apps like Duolingo, Babbel, or Memrise were made for this kind of short, focused time. You're already scrolling on your phone. Why not make those swipes count for something?
Exactly, Adam. And here's another idea for our listeners. If you're walking during your commute, don't just zone out. Talk to yourself. I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. Look around and describe what you see in English. I'm walking past a park with beautiful green trees. Or, there's a cafe with people sitting outside. You don't need anyone else. It's just you and your thoughts. And you know what? That little habit builds your fluency fast. And for those of you who love music, here's a fun challenge. Create a playlist of English songs you enjoy. Look up the lyrics and sing along as you commute. Sure, people might look at you funny, but hey, they'll probably just think you're having a great day.
That's such a great tip, Sophia. And here's the best part. When you use your commute for learning, it doesn't feel like you're cramming English into your already busy day. You're just repurposing time you'd normally spend staring out the window or zoning out. It's multitasking at its finest. And let's be honest, If you're going to spend 30 minutes on the bus, wouldn't you rather finish the ride feeling like you accomplished something? I mean, how cool is it to get off a train and think, I just learned 5 new words, instead of, well, that was 30 minutes, I'll never get back.
If you're on a bus or train, try language apps like Duolingo, Memrise, or Quizlet. They're perfect for quick, bite-sized lessons. Adam. If you're driving, stick with podcasts or audiobooks. Pick something fun, like a story you already know in your native language. It's easier to follow and keeps you engaged. Sophia. And for my music lovers, make that English playlist. Listen, learn, and sing. Just don't forget to check the lyrics first.
All right. Here's a challenge for all of you listening. Tomorrow, during your commute, dedicate just 10 minutes to learning English. It doesn't matter if it's a podcast, a quick session on an app, or just describing your surroundings in English. Just do it. You'll be amazed at how much you can achieve in such a short time.
Let's talk about evenings. After a long, busy day, most of us just want to relax. Maybe scroll through social media, watch some TV, or just do nothing. And hey, I get it. But what if I told you that your evenings are actually the perfect time to boost your English without any extra effort? Think about it. Your brain has been processing information all day, and now it's time to slow down and reflect. And one of the best ways to do that, journaling. Before you panic and say, "But I'm not a writer," relax. I'm not talking about writing a novel. I'm talking about spending just 10 minutes writing a short journal entry in English. It can be super simple, just a few sentences about your day, what you did, what you felt, or even what you ate. Not only does this help you practice forming sentences naturally, but it also helps you remember new words and expressions. And here's the magic. When you write about your own life, the words stick better because they actually matter to you. So tonight, before you go to bed, grab a notebook or your phone and write about your day. You'll be amazed at how much your English improves over time.
That's such an underrated tip, Sophia. And I love that you mentioned keeping it simple. People think journaling means writing pages and pages, but nope, just a few lines are enough. If you don't know what to write, start with something easy like, "What made me smile today?" It's a great way to reflect, and at the same time, you're practicing expressing emotions and experiences in English. But hey, maybe writing isn't your thing. No worries. Here's another easy way to wind down with English. Watch something fun. Grab your favorite English TV show or a YouTube video and watch just 10 minutes of it. And here's my trick. Use subtitles, but use them wisely. First, try watching without subtitles and just focus on listening. Then, watch again with English subtitles to catch the words you missed. It's a simple yet powerful way to improve both your listening skills and comprehension. Plus, let's be real. It's a great excuse to watch your favorite show and still feel productive.
Exactly, Adam. And for our listeners who feel tired at the end of the day and don't want to study, this is the best time to immerse yourself in English in a way that feels natural. Instead of forcing yourself to memorize words, you're absorbing them while watching a show, writing a quick journal entry, or even just thinking in English as you reflect on your day. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be consistent. The little things you do in the evening, right before bed, can actually make a huge difference because your brain processes information overnight. So, if you make it a habit to spend 10 minutes with English every night, whether it's journaling, watching a show, or even just listening to soft English music, you'll wake up the next day one step closer to fluency. If you're journaling and don't know what to write, start with this. What made me smile today? Simple, personal, and a great way to practice expressing emotions in English.
If you're watching a TV show, pick something light and fun. Comedies and sitcoms are great because they use natural, everyday language.
And if you just want to relax, try listening to an English audiobook or some slow, easy-to-follow podcasts before bed. The weekend. the time we all look forward to. No alarms, no rushed schedules, just 2 full days of relaxation, or at least that's the ideal, right? But let's be honest, how often do we reach Sunday night wondering where the time went? Here's a thought. What if you could use just a small part of your weekend to make real progress in English without sacrificing fun or rest? Because let me tell you, weekends are a golden opportunity to expand your skills beyond the usual routine. It's not about cramming in extra study time, it's about using these 2 days differently, exploring, experimenting, and stepping outside of your comfort zone in ways you simply don't have time for during the busy work week. Instead of just repeating the same learning habits, why not go big on something new? Maybe you finally tackle those tricky idioms that make native speakers sound so natural. Or maybe you challenge yourself to understand a comedy show without subtitles. The beauty of the weekend is that you have the mental space to enjoy learning without the pressure of deadlines and responsibilities.
That's such a great point, Sophia. During the week, most of us are just trying to squeeze English into whatever little time we have, right? Maybe we're listening to a podcast while commuting, or practicing a few vocabulary words in between meetings. But the weekend? That's when you can be more intentional. And let me tell you, intention changes everything. Imagine this. Instead of just listening passively to English content, what if you took 10 minutes to write down new phrases and actually try using them? Instead of just watching a Netflix show, what if you repeated some of the sentences out loud, mimicking the way native speakers talk? These are the tiny, powerful habits that separate someone who studies English from someone who truly lives it. And I know some of you might be thinking, but Adam, it's my weekend. I don't want to feel like I'm back in school. Trust me, I hear you. But here's the difference. This isn't about studying. It's about exploring. The weekend is when you get to enjoy English in the way that works best for you, without pressure, without a strict plan, just small but effective ways to make your learning stick.
Exactly. And one of the best ways to do this? Talking to real people. Now, I know speaking in English can feel intimidating, but guess what? The weekend is your chance to take that step in a relaxed, no-pressure way. You don't need a classroom or a tutor, just a conversation. Maybe there's a language exchange partner you've been meaning to message, or maybe you have a friend who's also learning English. Why not set up a 10-minute chat? Even if it's just small talk about your weekend plans, that's progress. And if you don't have a partner to practice with, don't let that stop you. Here's something I do when I want to sharpen my speaking skills. I pick an object in my home and describe it out loud. I know it sounds silly, but imagine you're looking at your morning coffee and saying, "This is a black coffee. It's strong and hot, and I drink it every morning to wake up." It sounds basic, but this kind of exercise forces your brain to think in English, and that's a game changer.
Oh, I love that, Sophia. And you know what? This is the kind of learning that sticks because it's connected to your life. You're not just memorizing random sentences from a textbook, you're speaking about things that are relevant to you, and that makes it so much easier to remember. Now, let's say you have a little more time this weekend. What if, instead of just doing one 10-minute task, you stacked 3 of them together into a power session? I call this the Weekend Power Hour, but don't worry, it's only 30 minutes total. Here's how it works. First 10 minutes, learn something new. Pick an idiom, a slang phrase, or even a short poem, something that feels fresh and exciting. Next 10 minutes, apply it. Write a short sentence using what you learned, or better yet, use it in a spoken practice. Final 10 minutes. Test yourself. Speak freely about a random topic, but challenge yourself to include what you just learned. The reason this works so well is that you're not just absorbing new information, you're using it right away. And when you use something immediately, it sticks with you much longer.
That is such a brilliant way to supercharge your weekend learning. And what I love about it is that it doesn't feel like a heavy commitment. Just 30 minutes, broken into small, manageable pieces, and you're actually walking away with something new. Plus, it makes learning feel exciting. You're giving yourself little challenges, little victories. And if you don't have 30 minutes, no problem. Just choose one 10-minute task and go all in. Maybe it's finally watching an episode of your favorite English show without subtitles. Maybe it's writing a fun Instagram caption in English instead of your native language. Maybe it's just listening to a new song and looking up the lyrics. The key is to do something different from your normal routine. Because when learning stays fresh and exciting, it never feels like work. It feels like progress.
That's what it's all about, Sophia. Making English part of your real life. And what I love about weekends is that they give you the freedom to do that in a way that feels good. You're not racing against the clock. You're not trying to squeeze in a lesson between other obligations. You're just allowing yourself to enjoy English in a natural, stress-free way. And let's be real, if we have time to binge watch an entire series in one weekend, which, trust me, I've done, we definitely have 10 minutes to do something that helps us grow. So, here's what I want everyone listening to do. Pick one 10-minute task this weekend that you wouldn't normally do. Maybe you finally test out that new English learning app. Maybe you send a voice note to a friend in English. Maybe you record yourself speaking and listen back to hear how you sound. Whatever it is, just do it. I promise you'll feel so good when you realize how much progress you can make in such a short time.
Exactly. And remember, English isn't something you have to force into your life. It's something you can weave into your weekend in a way that feels natural and fun. So whether you spend 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or even just a few seconds thinking in English, know this: every small step counts. It all adds up. And before you know it, you'll look back and realize just how much you've improved, all because you decided to make learning part of your weekend routine. So go enjoy your weekend. But don't forget to make English a part of it. All right, let's be real for a second. We all start learning something new with a lot of enthusiasm, but as time passes, that motivation starts to fade. Right, life gets busy, we forget to practice, and suddenly, weeks go by without progress. And that's when a lot of people start saying, maybe I'm just not good at learning languages. But let me tell you, that's not true. The real problem isn't your ability to learn. It's that you're not seeing your progress. And when you don't see progress, you don't feel motivated. That's why one of the biggest secrets to success in learning English, or really anything in life, is tracking your progress. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need fancy notebooks or expensive apps. It could be as simple as writing down one thing you learned today. That's it. One word, one phrase, one sentence you practiced. Just something to remind yourself that you're moving forward. Because the truth is, even 10 minutes of practice a day adds up. And when you can look back and see that, it keeps you motivated to keep going.
Sophia, that is so true. And you know what? I've seen this work so many times. There was this guy I met at a language exchange event. His name was Daniel. When he first started learning English, he felt like he was going nowhere. He was practicing a little bit here and there, but he felt stuck. Then, he started doing something really simple. Every night, before going to bed, he would write down one new word or phrase he had learned that day. That's it. Just one thing. Some days, it was a word from a podcast. Other days, it was a phrase he picked up from an English show. He even started making short voice notes on his phone, recording himself saying those words and sentences. And guess what? After just 3 months, his confidence skyrocketed. He could actually look back and see how much he had learned. And instead of feeling frustrated, he felt excited to keep going. It was like watching a plant grow. At first, it feels slow, but one day you wake up and realize, wow, I've come so far. And that's the power of tracking your progress. It turns invisible progress into visible success.
I love that story, Adam. And that's the thing. So many learners are making progress, but they just don't realize it. Think about it. If you go to the gym every day but never look in the mirror, you might feel like nothing's changing. But the moment you take a progress photo and compare it to where you started, you see the difference. Learning English is the same. You don't always notice the little improvements day by day, but when you track what you're learning, you can look back and say, wow, I actually know so much more than I did a month ago. And you don't have to track in only one way. If writing things down isn't your style, try something different. Make a video diary in English. Record voice notes. Or even just mark a simple checklist like, did I practice for 10 minutes today? The method doesn't matter. What matters is that you acknowledge your progress. Because when you see that progress, your motivation skyrockets.
Exactly. And let's not forget, learning English is a long-term journey. There will be days when you feel stuck, when you feel like you're not improving at all. And that's when progress tracking becomes even more important. Because when you look back and see that 1 month ago, you didn't know certain words, or you couldn't hold a conversation as well as you can now, that's when you realize you are improving. So to everyone listening, start tracking today. Don't wait until you feel progress. Write it down, record it, celebrate it, because even 10 minutes a day adds up to something amazing.
Okay, let's take a step back for a second. We've been talking about learning English in just 10 minutes a day, but have you ever wondered, why does this actually work? I mean, how can just 10 minutes a day be enough to make progress? Isn't it better to study for hours? Well, actually, no. In fact, research has shown that long, exhausting study sessions are often less effective than short, focused ones. That's because of how our brains work. When we try to cram too much information at once, our brain doesn't have time to properly absorb it. It's like pouring water into an already full glass. Most of it just spills over, and nothing really stays. But when we learn in short, manageable bursts, we give our brain the chance to digest and store information more effectively. It's called spaced repetition, and it's one of the most powerful ways to learn anything. Instead of trying to learn everything in one sitting, you break it up into smaller pieces, review it regularly, and allow your brain to build strong long-term connections. And that's why just 10 minutes a day can actually help you learn faster than studying for hours once in a while.
That is such an important point, Sophia. So many people believe that if they don't spend hours studying, they're not making progress. But that's just not true. In fact, let me tell you about a fascinating study. Researchers found that students who studied for short periods every day remembered more than those who studied for hours once a week. Why? Because their brains had time to process and recall the information naturally, without feeling overwhelmed. Think about it. When you learn a new word today and use it tomorrow, it sticks. But if you try to learn 50 words at once, how many do you think you'll actually remember a week later? Probably just a few. It's just like exercising. You don't go to the gym once a month and expect to get fit. You go a little bit every day, and over time your body gets stronger. Learning English works the exact same way. Your brain is like a muscle. The more consistently you train it, even for short periods, the stronger it gets.
Exactly, Adam. And here's another interesting fact. Our brains actually learn better when we're not trying too hard. Have you ever noticed that sometimes, when you stop thinking about a problem, the answer just comes to you? That's because our brains continue processing information in the background, even when we're not actively studying. So when you learn something for just 10 minutes a day, your brain keeps working on it even after you've stopped studying. It organizes the information, connects it to what you already know, and strengthens those neural pathways. That's why sometimes you wake up the next day and suddenly remember something you struggled with the day before. And here's another cool trick. Sleep actually improves memory retention. So if you practice English at night before bed, your brain will keep working on it while you sleep, making it much easier to remember the next day.
Wow, Sophia, that is so fascinating. I love that idea. learning before bed so your brain keeps processing it overnight. That's such a simple but powerful hack, and it reminds me of something else: the power of active learning. Most people think that just passively watching English videos or reading grammar books is enough. But the truth is, you remember things much better when you actively engage with the material. That's why even just 10 minutes of speaking or writing is way more effective than an hour of passive reading. If you spend just 10 minutes actually using the words and phrases you've learned, whether by speaking out loud, writing a journal entry, or even shadowing a podcast, you'll see results much faster. And guess what? Your brain loves patterns and repetition. So if you make 10-minute learning a daily habit, your brain will start expecting it. That's when learning becomes effortless. It's no longer something you have to force yourself to do. It's just part of your routine, like brushing your teeth. That's such a great point, Adam. And let's not forget, our attention spans are actually getting shorter. Studies show that the average human attention span is now less than a goldfish. Seriously, we get distracted so easily. That's why long study sessions don't work. They're just too hard to focus on. But 10 minutes? That's easy. It's short enough that you can stay focused, but long enough to actually absorb new information. And the best part? It doesn't feel like work. Think about it. You're much more likely to commit to something small and manageable than something overwhelming. That's why 10-minute learning is so effective. It's not intimidating. Anyone can do it, anytime, anywhere. And over time, those small daily actions build up into massive progress. Absolutely, Sophia. And I love how this method makes learning feel fun instead of stressful. It's the same reason why kids learn languages so easily. They're not studying a language, they're just experiencing it in small, natural ways throughout the day. And that's exactly what we need to do as adult learners. Learning English in 10-minute chunks isn't just a strategy, it's a mindset shift. It's about realizing that fluency doesn't come from one big effort, but from small, consistent habits that make learning feel effortless. And here's what's really exciting. Once you start seeing progress with just 10 minutes a day, you'll actually want to keep going. It's like a snowball effect. The more you learn, the more confident you feel, and the more motivated you become to keep learning. And before you know it, you're speaking English naturally and fluently.
That's exactly it, Adam. And that's why we're so passionate about 10-minute learning. It's not just about saving time, it's about making learning smarter, easier, and more enjoyable. So if you're listening right now and thinking, can I really improve my English in just 10 minutes a day? The answer is yes. Science proves it, real learners prove it, and now it's your turn to prove it to yourself. Start today. Pick a small, simple task like listening to a short English podcast, writing a quick sentence, or speaking out loud for 10 minutes. Do that every day and watch what happens. You won't believe how much progress you'll make in just a few weeks. All right, let's get real for a second. We all start learning a language with so much excitement. We download all the best apps, buy a notebook, maybe even watch a few English movies. And for the first few weeks, we're super motivated. But then, life happens. Work gets busy, we miss a few days, and suddenly we start feeling guilty. Before we know it, we've stopped learning altogether. And what do we tell ourselves? Maybe I'm just not good at learning languages. But let me tell you something. That's not the real reason people give up. The problem isn't that they're not smart enough or talented enough. The problem is that they fall into common traps that make learning feel harder than it actually is. And now we're going to talk about those traps, why they happen, and, most importantly, how to avoid them.
Yes, Sophia. I love this topic because it's something every single language learner goes through at some point. So let's start with pitfall number 1, setting unrealistic expectations. A lot of people start learning English thinking, I'm going to be fluent in 3 months. And don't get me wrong, I love the enthusiasm. But let's be honest, fluency takes time. And when people don't see immediate results, they get frustrated and quit. But here's the thing. Learning a language isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. It's all about consistency, not speed. Instead of saying, I need to be fluent in 3 months, focus on small wins. Learn 5 new words this week. Have a short conversation in English next week. Fluency isn't one big moment. It's a collection of small victories over time. And the people who keep going? They're the ones who celebrate those small wins instead of focusing on how far they still have to go.
That's such a great point, Adam. And that brings us to pitfall number 2, comparing yourself to others. How many times have you seen someone speaking perfect English and thought, wow, I'll never be that good? Let me tell you something. Every fluent speaker you see was once a beginner just like you. They struggled, they made mistakes, they felt frustrated, but they kept going. The problem is, we only see their success, not their struggles. It's like social media. People only post their best moments, not the times they failed. So instead of comparing yourself to someone else, compare yourself to your past self. Are you better than you were a month ago? Do you know more words than you did last year? If the answer is yes, then guess what? You're making progress. And that's the only comparison that matters.
Oh, I love that, Sophia. And I want to add another big one. Pitfall number 3, fear of making mistakes. Let's be honest, nobody likes making mistakes, especially in front of other people. But here's the truth. If you're not making mistakes, you're not learning. Every mistake you make is a step toward fluency. Think about how kids learn a language. They don't worry about grammar, they just start talking. And yeah, they make tons of mistakes, but that's why they improve so fast. The problem is, as adults, we're afraid of looking stupid. But you know what's actually stupid? Not trying because you're afraid. So here's my advice. Make as many mistakes as possible. Speak, write, try, fail, and then try again. Every mistake is proof that you're learning.
Absolutely. And let's move on to pitfall number 4. Thinking you need to study hard to make progress. A lot of people believe that unless they're sitting at a desk, taking notes and studying like a student, they're not learning. But let me tell you something, learning happens everywhere. Watching a short video in English? That's learning. Listening to music and paying attention to the lyrics? Learning. Practicing one phrase while cooking? Learning. You don't need to be in study mode to improve. Some of the best learners are the ones who make English a natural part of their day. Rather than treating it like a school subject, they have to force themselves to study.
That's such an important point, Sophia. And here's one more. Pitfall number 5. Giving up too soon. So many people quit learning a language right before they're about to make a big breakthrough. Why? Because they don't feel like they're improving fast enough. But the reality is, progress isn't linear. It happens in stages. Some days, you'll feel amazing, like you're improving so fast. Other days, you'll feel stuck, like you're not learning anything. That's normal. Language learning has silent progress. Your brain is working in the background, even when you don't feel like you're improving. And then, one day, suddenly, you'll find yourself understanding something that used to be difficult. And you'll think, wait, when did this become easy? That's how learning works. It's happening even when you don't notice it. The key is to trust the process and keep going.
That's so true, Adam. And honestly, here's the biggest takeaway. The people who succeed in learning English aren't the smartest. They're the most consistent. They're the ones who keep going, even when they don't feel motivated, even when they make mistakes, even when they don't see instant results. And here's the good news. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be fluent overnight. You just have to keep showing up. If you practice for just 10 minutes a day, even when you don't feel like it, even when you're tired, even when you're busy, guess what? You will improve. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
Exactly, Sophia. And let's make this actionable for our listeners. If you've ever felt like giving up, I want you to ask yourself, which of these pitfalls is stopping me? Are you expecting fluency too fast? Comparing yourself to others? Afraid of making mistakes? Feeling like you're not studying hard enough? Whatever it is, recognize it, and then remind yourself, progress is progress, no matter how small. The only way to fail is to stop trying.
And if you're listening to this right now, it means you haven't given up. You're still here, still learning, still growing, and that's amazing. So don't stop now. Keep going, keep learning, and keep believing in yourself. Because I promise you, if you stay consistent, English will become easier, and one day you'll look back and think, wow, I can't believe how far I've come. And there you have it. We've covered some of the most powerful strategies, tools, and mindset shifts that can help you learn English faster, easier, and with just 10 minutes a day. Whether it's using AI, avoiding common pitfalls, or making English a natural part of your daily life, every small step adds up. And remember, learning a language isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent.
Absolutely, Sophia. And here's the truth. You're already on the right path. The fact that you're here, watching this video, means you're committed to improving your English. That's the hardest part, getting started and staying consistent. So don't stop now. Take one tip from today's video and start applying it right away. Maybe it's tracking your progress, maybe it's using AI tools, or maybe it's just speaking out loud for a few minutes a day. Whatever it is, just start.
And don't forget, learning English is not a race. It's a journey, and every step forward is progress, no matter how small. The key is to make it fun, sustainable, and something you look forward to. So if you found value in this video, give it a thumbs up and let us know in the comments. What's one thing you're going to apply starting today? We'd love to hear from you.
And if you're serious about improving your English, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because we're bringing you more powerful, practical, and engaging lessons to help you reach fluency faster. And remember, the best way to learn is to stay consistent, keep going, and most importantly, enjoy the process. You've got this.
Thank you so much for watching. Keep learning, keep growing, and we'll see you in the next video.